It's a Southern Sunflower here with my third episode of the Sunflower series. So, today I want to talk to you all about my spiritual journey, sort of, kind of. A short version of my spiritual journey because it would be way too long to share in one video. But let's see. So, I was raised in the church. My family is religious, I've always been religious. So I was raised as a Christian. But I would say I questioned the religion like since I was little bitty. I was very intuitive. I always wanted to know things and I always felt certain things and I just questioned a lot, but I just never acknowledged it. I can remember being in the first grade and I was in my first grade classroom and I remember that the pastor talked about how like once you go to heaven, like time never ends. Like it never ends, basically. You know, it's for forever. You'll be in heaven for forever. And I was like, wow, that's a long time. And I was just staring up. I started to envision the Milky Way and stars and planets while I was having that thought about time never ending. And that's probably one of my most vivid memories from my childhood. And so I was just like, wait, why am I thinking about the planets and stars and space while I'm thinking about what God is, you know? And of course, I never asked anybody about that. I was way too scared. But I've always had questions and I always had weird thoughts about religion. But I just never said anything. I just accepted it because I was like, oh, this must be true. Everybody I love and I trust is doing it. So I was raised like this. I'm going to do it too. But I would say probably 2015. That's when I started to really realize that Christianity was not for me. I was coming more into like my adult self, I would say. And I was just more carefree and I really didn't care about bringing some of my inner thought forward to the surface. And so the first thing was, I'm done with religion. That was my first thing. I was like, F this. Folks already think Jesus white and clearly the Bible don't even say that. So this stuff ain't even adding up. Like slavery and like the religion, like it ain't even adding up. This ain't for me. And I always had those thoughts, but I acknowledged it and I was like, whatever. But I didn't tell anybody. I was still like, I guess, a closeted ex-Christian, if you want to say that. But I started to learn more and more about like true Black history and I just had more questions and I started to realize how powerful and how spiritual and how divine people who have that melanin, how divine we are. And so I was like, yeah, I'm sticking with this. Like, you know, I was like, whatever to Christianity, it's all about this. Like, yeah. So I let go of religion and I had to because it got to the point to where I would be like basically forcing myself to pray and I would be in the middle of a prayer and I like my thoughts would wander and stuff and I'd be like, what am I even praying to? Like, what is this? I don't even know. So I had to let go of it. And so I started to learn more about like meditation, natural living, and eventually, you know, I cut out all animal products from my diet. And so, and that's around the time when I locked my hair too. So I just did it all. I was like, let me get these locks. Let me cut this animal products out of my diet. I'm finna be straight living like a natural, spiritual, kumbaya life. Well, I was wrong because I was still dealing with men problems. Like still dealing with men problems. I'm like, what? And then if you watch my last video, then you know, like, so I locked my hair in October of 2016. And went vegan. So, but after this, I was still like stressing and stuff. On my last video, I said that I had a very hard last semester of school. So my last semester was spring 2017. So I made this big change in the fall before that semester. But nah, I was still struggling because I still had them ways with men. I was not very smart with the way I dealt with men. And so it was causing a lot of hurt and a lot of pain in my life and a lot of stress. But it was a while before I really started to acknowledge, what I was doing love life wise. It was not up until about May of 2018 when I actually started to acknowledge the part that I was playing and where I was messing up. And so that was a big part of my spirituality and finding myself, truly finding myself, was back in May of 2018 when I was like, wait, something is not right. And I realized like I was really off balance. And the only way for me to really like find that balance was through ways that I already was using meditation, but meditation really, really, really was not helping me at that point because I don't know, somewhere along the line I kind of fell off. I had a heartbreak around May of 2018 and it just caused a lot of trouble for me. I just fell off. So I stopped with the meditation and all of that. But, I'm still into other things. So I still was keeping up with like my smudging and keeping my crystals by me and keeping up with like the planets and the stars and all of that. So I was reading, I think I was going through some of my natal chart again. The message that I got when I was reading it was, watch out for overly identifying with your feminine side. And so I'm like, what? Like, what does this mean? Well, I interpreted it as I was not really acknowledging like the masculine side in life in any way, shape, or form. For instance, I'm an Aries. That comes with a lot of masculine energy. But on my spiritual journey, I was trying to mask and cover up that Aries energy. That's my sun sign. And it was making me off balance. And so I'm like, wow, that's one thing, because I would notice like I had lost that fire. When I was younger, that fire was burning bright, especially in college. In undergrad, ooh, that fire was burning and it would burn anybody at any time. But I had lost it because I would start looking at people who were like very spiritual and things like that, and they on social media and stuff, and they just seem so light and just so loving and so peaceful and just so not quick to anger and just always taking the high road. So I was like, I gotta kill that Aries energy, because it was one of those things to where I really didn't like that my son was in Aries. I did not like that because it just always seemed like Aries was just portrayed as like being hot-headed and quick to anger and just a fireball that's just out of control. And so I think that might have caused me to have some confusion between the balance of the masculine and the feminine within. And so that also made me look at how I interacted with men and what I thought of men. I was definitely a bitter female. I thought that, all men, men ain't shit and they all dogs and none of them good for nothing and they just not all hurt me and I'm just like whatever and all this and that. I was wrong because I was not acknowledging the part that I played, because every dealing with a different guy for me, it would be the same plot, different setting. I would do the same things. The man would do the same things. I would allow the same things. He would allow the same things until one of us got tired. And usually it would be the guy, because I would just always deal with it, because it's like, hey, at least I got a guy. Once I started to acknowledge things, I was just like, we not doing this. Like, I'm done with that. I'm ready to get my life together. I done got certain areas of my life together, like what I eat and my hair. Those were two really big issues for me. And I stayed consistent with them that whole time. But I was like, wow, but other things are like not really adding up, because my love life is still bad and my spirit still feels a little broken. So I started to acknowledge the things that I do. I get bored easily with people, so I just had to acknowledge like some of the things I was doing because I get bored with people easily. So I would start arguments just to be like, oh, like we finna interact and we finna this and we finna that. I had to cut that out. Females, let's cut the games out. Let's stop doing certain things, and we have to acknowledge what we're doing. Like we have to, and I know that we often have a lot of negative thoughts about males, and most of the time those thoughts are not right, honestly. I mean, it's just an exaggeration to cover up some of the things that we do, or at least in my experience it was. So I'm just acknowledging that, and I know that I'm probably not alone in that. So let's just not be bitter, because I used to be like that too. Things like when you see your ex in a new relationship and he doing good and they're doing good together and they're thriving, let them thrive. You can't be like, well, he wasn't doing this when he was with me, and he didn't upgrade it now with what he doing. Yeah, he has, because you weren't that motivator for him. You didn't possess that energy that he needed to get that spark to whatever he's doing now. But you too worried about what he got going now to find that spark, so that the guy that needs that spark can find you. You too busy tending to somebody else's garden, looking, seeing what they doing, instead of, doing what you're supposed to be doing in your garden to get fruit or whatever you want from your garden. Know that we play roles too. It's not just the guy. We play roles too. So I acknowledged the things that I was doing, and I also sat down and I kind of thought of, what do I think of men? And I wrote out like a short list of what do I think of men, and all the stuff was negative. It was all negative stuff. Like they cheaters, they dogs, and all that stuff. So I was like, wait, how am I going to have a part along with that, with us acknowledging that? Don't be afraid to acknowledge other things within yourself that may not be all light, peace, and happiness. And this is for males and females, and more than just dealing with love. There are certain things that you may not like about yourself, certain things that you may not like about your past, but you have to work with that darkness. You have to work with that and move forward. Work with it, forgive yourself, forgive the people in the situation, or make peace with whatever it is that you have, or acknowledge those. If you have some traits that you don't like about yourself, acknowledge them and figure out how to use them. Use them in the proper way. You gotta work with them ugly parts of yourself, and you gotta deal with that, and then move forward, because you can't hold on to the stuff. If you done dealt with this and you done dealing with it, and you at peace with it, why hold on to it? Because it's just taking up space. In order to bring more positivity into your life, you have to let go of negativity. How can you have positive thoughts if your head is already filled up with negative thoughts? There's no space for it. How can you have positivity in your life, love, peace, joy, if your life is full of negative stuff and you just sitting in the negativity? You just sitting in a drama. You just sitting in a chaotic relationship. You just sitting in a chaotic relationship with family, friends, any of that. You allowing yourself to be hurt. You still dabbling into the same unhealthy behaviors. How can you have space for all that positive stuff if you got all this negative stuff going on? It's no space. Work with your darkness, work with your light. Now, speaking of that, working with your darkness, working with your light, I said, any negative traits. Now, one thing that I do not want people to do is to lose themselves as they go on their spiritual journey, or as they have a glow up. Do not lose your individuality. You can still be who you are and be somebody new. You can still be both. You can still hold on to you while you're creating a newer version of you. I know that for me, I feel like I lost some of my individuality. Like I said, my son is in Aries. And so, I always thought that fire is so bad. That fire is so bad. No, I needed that Aries fire. I used to be so good with it. It used to be so strong. I lost it because I would see people that was so spiritual and that was like, people whose teachings I followed and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, they just seem so tranquil and so quiet and just so, so whatever. And so I thought I had to be like that. And I would always see mean things about Aries and saying how basically we're crazy and we're an uncontrollable ball of fire and all this and that. And I was like, so I don't want to be that. So I was trying to repress it. And I was not myself. I ain't even like, I just was not myself. And so I just started to really gain that fire back because I've been like working in the dark, been working in my darkness and my light. So it's like, so now I know how to use that fire because I want it back because I need it right now more than ever. With this new journey that I'm taking in my life, I need that Aries energy. I need it and I love it. And I just am going to wield it and use it in the right way because now I'm more balanced. And I know that, yeah, I can be love and light and all of that, peace, happiness, and joy, but I can also check somebody when they get out of place, you know? So don't lose yourself and don't compromise yourself. If you see something and it don't resonate with you, don't do it. Even something as simple as sage is like a really popular smudging herb. But if you hate the smell of sage, and you don't really like it and you kind of like your energy may feel low around it, don't use sage just because everybody else using sage. It's so much other stuff out here that you can smudge with. Lavender, cedar, Google it. You'll find all type of stuff that you can smudge with. Find a scent that resonates with you. And so that's everything that I have for you all today. I just want to touch on those topics and I hope you all are enjoying the series so far. I will see you all next week. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And also don't forget to check out the playlist that was released along with this video. I hope you all are actually enjoying the playlist so far. And I will see you all next week. So much love and share grease.